I was wondering what if you had any thoughts on that.
Yes, they're both criminal and they should be wiped from the face of the earth. Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, where a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host as always, Joe, and with me, the person who's still recovering from jet lag, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. I actually meant to mention this to you that I did, in fact, get. I don't know what the equivalent would be, but I did get a Pax Pox, a bit of the Pax Pox. Had a sinus infection that started pretty much after I got back, and and was kind of teetering on like a knife's edge, and then it went and became a full blown sinus infection by like Wednesday. So I don't know what the anime equivalent of that is, but animades, I don't know, but I got I got whatever I got whatever it is, though. Pretty much has cleared up by now.
I'm just going to blame that on your local airport. Yeah.
Uh,
It had
honestly,
nothing else to do with us, so
honestly, I
uh,
think so. I did sleep on the plane on the way up there. And when I did, it was very warm on that plane. It was a full plane, but it was just kind of unusually warm as it is. And so I had the little fans. I had that blowing like directly on me, and I'm pretty sure that just too much plane air, and into the nostrils, just a little too fresh off of the recycler. That it didn't do well for my sinuses. So I think I'm betting that was the source of it. And yeah, this is just par for the course, though.
I mean, still better than any other mode of transportation up here. I mean, you're not a big driving fan who likes to drive, like a dozen hours, and then there's what the Amtrak, which is like, once a year bound to fail, in an epic way.
Yeah, I mean a train. I've taken a train from Austin to Little Rock, and it's a it's not a great. It's very long. It takes a really long time, longer than a car, and it's bumpy and louder than you would expect. And yeah, just not ideal. Very. I mean, if you have all the time in the world and you just are like, you just want to look out the window in between, paragraphs of the book you're reading, it's that's cool. It could be cool for that, but otherwise, like it's just not particularly pleasant. So I don't even know how long it would take to get from Austin to Chicago on a train. That'd be pretty wild.
Yeah, too darn long, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for those who have been paying attention, we missed last week's normal episode and we did it with a canned little anime special. That's because Nick was up here at Anime Central for the first time, and yeah, I got to experience that convention for all it's worth. Which honestly is not a bad convention. It's like compared to others. Uh, it has a lot of decent, planning, and it has some pretty good headliners, uh, which is pretty neat. We'll talk more about that in the next bit. But for now, we've been meaning to talk about Mixtape, the game that we've been playing, or played, I should say. So, yeah, I'll let you take it away first. So, yeah, go ahead and let us know, what is Mixtape? What kind of game is it? And how did you like it?
Yeah. So so mixtape is a what I have come to call a nostalgia game. Um, it's it's kind of in that vein of like Lost Records or even dang it, what's the Max Caulfield game called? That that some of your friends like so much.
Oh, that would be Stranger Things.
Stranger, no,
Not Stranger Things. Life is Strange. Life
Life
is
is
Strange.
Strange. Life is Stranger Things. Yeah,
Oh,
Li-
Stranger Things is also the
yeah.
is nostalgia bait. It
You
is very much of that ilk.
you were not wrong. You were not wrong. You were righter than you realized. Yeah. So yeah, Life is Strange and even Stranger Things. So I call Mixtape a nostalgia game. It is set in like the 90s. I don't remember exactly when, but I think it's kind of like mid, not quite late 90s. I feel like 96 was the year, but I could be wrong. But it's set in the 90s, and it's about a group of friends, and it's about a mixtape essentially. Back, it's kind of harkening back to when people made mixtapes on cassette tapes, and it's kind of about a group of friends, their last hurrah in high school, and everyone's going their separate ways. Literally after this party that's supposed to happen on the night of that the game is set, and the gameplay is kind of like you walk around sometimes and you talk to your friends and they kind of fill you in on the story, and then you kind of get backstory, and there's like little mini games, and then there's like set pieces that the game has. It's not a very long game. um I think you and I did it in like 3 hours. I think personally, I think mine was like 3.5 hours. I've seen as many as like 5 hours for maybe completionist runs. Though I think you'd have to play certain sections more than once. But maybe if you're really good, you don't. I don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of the long and short of the basic premise of the game. Um, I am going to probably get into some spoilery things. Maybe not quite so much with the story itself, but just with some of the things I really liked about the game as it goes on. There is some controversy that we'll get into in a minute, but I'll just kind of start by saying that I bought the game because I remembered whenever we first saw it like advertised or you know there was like, so it was in some showcase, and I was like, that looks like it might be cringe, but it also looks like it might actually be pretty dang good. And I just remember thinking that at the time, but kind of leaning towards probably going to be cringe because they're trying to make it look as good as they can for this trailer, right? But then it came out. I kind of forgot about it, and it came out, and I was like, I needed a game to play, and it wasn't too expensive, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this, and bought it and played it straight through. Didn't really know about any of the controversy at that point, so kind of kind of like a sweet summer child, like these kids in this game. Actually, I could have just sort of enjoyed this game as it was, and I really did like it a lot. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I was expecting like a 6, maybe a 7 out of 10, and it and by the end I was like, okay, this is at least like a pretty decent 7 to me. I definitely had some laugh out loud moments. I had some kind of like, there were some kind of hurrah moments. I liked the characters. I thought they were like, they weren't annoying, which is always my number one thing, is like, are your characters annoying? If you check no, then you can proceed. I thought they weren't annoying, and they were pretty, well rounded, fleshed out, realistic, whatever you have to say about that stuff. And I liked the gameplay and stuff like that. I mean, I did think that it was a little too short. Though well, I think that they did what they should do with the time that they had, that they filled that time out correctly. I think that to get a high score, it would need to be longer in my book. 3 hours. It's very nice. It does its job. It's a very nice experience, but it doesn't quite really get there for like a higher score for me. But yeah, so that's probably where I'll leave it for now before I talk about some more stuff later. But Joe, you like literally, it's been over a week since I played this, but you like literally just played this. What did you think of it?
So, what was your score at the end of this?
I think 7.
Okay. I'm gonna state that I think that's fair. I can see it being I can see it being an 8 the right people.
Right.
Anything above an 8, I think uh you have to be this has to be so for you, or you think it's all about you that and you're in that own little delusion. Um so all right. Now, I guess I look at this game when we saw the trailer, I really wasn't sitting high on this one at all. I thought it was going to be more cringe than competent. Saying that, I liked this game way more than I thought I was going to. So I want to like lead straight out with that. I thought the too much flying in the original trailer, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, I thought it was too much flying in the main game too. I think 3 hours is just the right amount of time for this game. Anything more, some of the scenes were just a little longer than I needed to be anyway. So I thought um, it didn't overstay its welcome. Some of the individual scenes might have been could have been extended, but also as a whole, anything, most of the scenes, anything longer would have just been like, okay, I'm done. Yeah, no, I'm good. But it was almost too many scenes as a whole, because they liked, especially when you look through the chapter select, they get really granular, and it's mostly for the trophies to
Mm.
help you skip to the trophy scene. And yeah, I think it's all right. Rough synopsis of the game, like you mentioned. So a group of friends going to go ahead and go on a road trip, but the main character is going to fly off to New York and stalk a random music producer for a job position that doesn't exist in real life, or if it does, it's very amalgamous. Like they don't really explain much of it. Uh, all to show them a mixtape. Not like they want to be a DJ, but like here's a mixtape of songs from other artists, not their music, but songs from. I mean, it's the. I have no idea what the whole goal is, like end game. It reminds me of the. At least the movie was at Pitch Perfect. It was someone who mashed up their own stuff. It's like, and at the end of that film, I forget who plays the producer in that one, but it's just like ends up saying like this is just like any normal kid with a laptop can do this. Like, what's your mashup? Make it your own, do your own thing with it. And they're like, okay, so they kind of at least walk away with it. This is just like, no, here's my random radio edit. This is my, and the whole thing is, I'm gonna make it sound really bad, but like I said, I did like this game overall. But it reminds me of how I reduced Rocky into a very poor state of the original movie Rocky, which is a film classic, but like two people with two people that's on the spectrum who fall in love together. And one just continually get pummeled in the face, and like that's Rocky in a nutshell. He gets smarter as his income grows. But like Rocky number two starts out with Stallone not being able to even do a commercial because it's too many words and too difficult for him to understand. Okay, so anyways, this person is so self-driven about this. We have to their final night together, and they're going to do everything according to their plan, which no one knows about, and their plan has to revolve around their own soundtrack, which no one else can listen to because they're the only ones with headphones. So it's just a very you're kind of a unique person, and it's funny because as we're playing this game, right away in the beginning, my spouse was like, it's like Wes Anderson vibes. I'm like, yeah, I think so, but I think they're more going for Ferris Bueller. A lot
Okay.
of talking into the camera. It's very much a riff on a lot of Ferris Bueller stuff. I think towards the end they have a Grease reference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was I had a few points where I'm like, this kind of reminds me a lot of Ferris Bueller. And then there's a scene toward the end
running scene.
where she's literally running the way that Ferris Bueller runs through all the yards and all the stuff. And I was like, okay, I mean, at least they know that to steal from the goats, but it is like this game is it's very much Ferris Bueller's Day Off, just set in the 90s and with two girls and a guy instead of two guys and a girl. and it's I mean it's not one for one. I mean she's not like the coolest girl in school or whatever, but it does have a ton of Ferris Bueller vibes, and it does it pretty well. It does it pretty well. I did want to touch on the job that she wants. What she doesn't say it, but what she basically wants to be is like a taste maker. She wants to be an influencer. Realistically, that's what she wants to be is an influencer. She just doesn't. She just is in the '90s and she doesn't have the words for that or a webcam or anything. Um, but yeah, like hearing the job that she was saying she's gonna take a mixtape and it's gonna blow the socks off of this record producer or whatever. I was just like, that is not gonna be how this goes. I would like to see the real world example where that has actually happened. Maybe who's that music producer that didn't know how to play anything that wrote a book called The Creative Act. A really good book and really great music producer, Alan something. Anyway, so maybe that's the case for it. But yeah, there are some things in this game that it does put those ideas in your head early on when you are like, okay, I just started this game and I'm the most accepting that I'm going to be. And so they kind of just set that up and then they just sort of like run with it from there.
Yeah, I think music supervisor was the key term, and I'm like not producer, but a supervisor. Which, anyways, yeah. So really, kind of a dumb premise, but the execution of the vibes and everything is really good. I always go like this. Really harken back to I think Giant Bomb. I think it was Alex Navarro who said it when playing. Was it A Way Out by Hazelight Studios? Like being like A Way Out was a game that was made by people who only know about America and like the film heist or like heists and crimes done through American cinema.
mm,
And that's how I feel like this is because this is Beethoven and Dinosaur, and they're an Australian group, and I
okay.
feel like the only American high school that they know of is from Ferris Bueller and other movies like well, what was it the mockumentary because they actually said like they used the term the one towards the very end one of the guys yells out from the as before jumping into the pool like I'm gonna live forever
I'm a
but it's
golden
like
god.
golden god that
It's
reference
a
from the original film.
it's the movie that happens in that I'm thinking of is Almost Famous, which
That's it. Yeah,
okay.
so it's like but things like that,
Yeah. Okay.
or yeah, they kinda have the guy, the, Matthew McConaughey's character from, the other high school film, the whole high
Yeah,
s
the guy working for
so
the
anyways,
city.
yeah, so, ends up having the same, like, kind of like the male, character here has an older version that he kinda looks up to, and he gets recognized at the very end by him. I'm like, "That's just supposed to be Matthew McConaughey, right?" You know?
Yeah.
It's just like, just let him do the high school girls quote, can't get away with that now because it's a different era and all that stuff, but it's just like, no, no, it's most definitely, like, ripping off of all these key movies from, like, the '80s and '90s, uh, and I'm like, "That's fine." But at the same time, it's just like, it's very, very odd, though, once again, the execution of a lot of things is really fun. Their first the, car scene is essentially but it's meant to be them in a studio, so they have, like, fake backgrounds, so depending on where the camera angle is, you'll have a different backdrop, driving by,
Oh right. Yeah.
and it was really silly, really stupid. You even see the looking at the ground, like, you see, like, all the stuff plugged in to an electrical outlet, like, switcher and stuff like that, and yeah, it's dumb, but
That,
it works really well.
yeah. They definitely they know how to how long to hold a scene, how long before you need to move on, and bringing in kind of cheap things that just kind of liven up this this movie that you're kind of playing, because that's by the end of it I was like, this is really like this would really be a good like movie night game. Like if you wanted to have a movie night but you didn't really want to just sit there and watch a movie, like this game would really fit in for that. There are 2 points that this game where this game really did win me over like completely. And the first is the touch whenever she plays the song the touch by Stan Bush, right? Which I didn't realize that song actually debuted on the Transformers soundtrack or the Transformers movie. I didn't realize, I thought it was like on its own album or whatever. But she talks about that, and whenever that song plays, I was like, oh man, they just like shot me right in the heart because I unironically like really and ironically, but unironically really love that song. It's
And that movie. You're a huge
I know,
OG
I know, and
Transformers fan.
unapologetically, I will defend that movie, and the sound, and a lot of, in large part because of the soundtrack. So that they pulled it from that, I was like, okay, wow, you just got me. And then the other point at which I laughed out loud, um, and just loved it so much, I had to pause it as soon as it happened. Is there's a part where toward the middle end of the game where she's mad and they're on the skateboard and they're going downhill and there's this car that's backing out and she like gives it the double bird and I was like, okay, she's gonna have the double bird because she's mad, but when she does, she gives it the double bird and then the car explodes and I was like, God, that is so fun. It's so perfect. And then like you go through a whole game sequence just like that. So those are the 2 points where I was like, yeah, this game is pretty all right. And I just had to really smile and laugh pretty hard at those points. But there was other places in the game throughout there. I was like, okay, that's kind of touching, or that's funny. I thought the guy character, I forget his name, but the guy character and the friend, the other friend who's a girl character were really well thought out, and they said funny stuff and had their own sort of they were good to root for, I thought.
Yeah, so Slater was the guy character, and
That's right.
Cass was the other friend.
Right.
The So, I guess that's the thing is there wasn't enough cohesion throughout the whole thing, like, because it was like a bunch of mini game sequences. It is a very much a walking simulator kind of game, but with faster pace
Yeah.
and less exploration. Because that's the whole walking simulator genre is like, hey, we got a story to tell, but we're gonna let you go at your own pace, but it's usually a slower speed, and then you can kind of figure out what's going on. Is a mystery or like an unknown to this, but no, this is like, no, no, you're pretty much on rails, like downhill rails for the most part. And, it's like, but they keep on, like I said, it has an identity crisis because it keeps on switching things up. I'm like, is she just delusional? Is she just like, is this all a fever dream in her head? Like, as everyone else is like walking to the store normally, and she's like that 5-year-old kid who sees like spaceships and like lasers and going pew pew like everywhere. And it's just like that's kind of the world she lives in. Uh, I understand that she has like social anxiety, and that's why she has to wear the headphones.
Yeah.
Which the headphones were a funny touch because they're essentially the Cost Porta Pros, but backwards, and then she has added with extra electronics to have like a play, pause, forward, rewind function. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that and see, compact discs were not that durable for you to comfortably do a lot of stuff on without skipping every other moment and then start buffering again. Um,
Yeah.
but no, it's just it romanticizes high school life. It romanticizes the 80s and 90s, and it does a lot of fun stuff there by changing things up and making it like the shopping cart sequence was it was pretty all right. And
Yeah.
uh, then you have the helicopter news reporter being like, as you can see, some kids are on the highway in the shopping cart. Out of my 40 years or something, like I forgot how many years of reporting, I've only seen this happen like 4 or 5 times or
Sometimes,
something like that.
yeah. Yeah.
You're expecting him to say, "I've never seen this before," but it's just like the fact that he drops a number and
Yeah.
those like unpredictable. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty funny. That they got me good on that one. You know the uh the idea of the friend making music and then being like, yeah, I want to make the synth like 8 minute synth odyssey. It's just like uh
Yeah.
no, it had a lot of really good hallmarks despite it being kind of super cheesy and also like dropping the ball here and there. But as a whole, it's a good story.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, that's why I think 3 hours, 3.5 ish or whatever it may hit you, is just long enough. I could have got it done a little bit sooner, but I spent way too much time skipping rocks.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that I spent a little bit of time skipping rocks. I did some things and I thought, okay, I think that's I could probably do this, probably do that, but I think I'm ready to move on. But yeah, there's like a whole like there's trophies and stuff that you can get by skipping those rocks.
Yeah, and then the like it's just kind of weird because once again, all delusional because like things start appearing in the water like the abyss, and just like as you hit them, things fall down. I'm like, all right, this is really odd, but I'm just gonna keep on going and see how many of these gnomes I can break, because they
Yeah.
keep on popping up out of nowhere. So even when I was done with everything, I'm like, is there anything else? Is it not going to give me any indicator that I'm finished now? I'm like, nope. Okay, then I'm just bailing. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, it was a fun experience. I'm glad I went through it. I think a 7 is a solid 7. I can see it being I can see the argument for an 8. Um, Anything higher, because like all the conversations in this is the key quintessential like I am a freshman, or I am 13 and this is deep,
Mm,
because it's like all those moments are super cringe, but you can see to them that it's important. And at least they are self-aware on certain aspects, being like, high school are supposed to be easy, and they're like, the hell, they're like, the hell it is, more or less. They're like, yeah, we have no realm of reference for this, to compare it to. So but I think that's the thing is this doesn't have a real message it gives. It's just kind of like a blank journey. Uh, have no real reason why they're giving though. She has to bolt like the next day, and there's just
yeah.
to create false tension because there was a planned road trip, but she bails on it, and they planned this whole road trip for a while. So yeah, it's kind of it's a kind of a difficult
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, yeah, you're just creating a false narrative
I
or a
feel
false
like
tension here.
what's that show that was on, was it College Humor or YouTube or whatever, where it was like the late night diner and they would argue like the opposite of what you're supposed to think
After Hours.
after.
Yes, After Hours, and I'm trying to remember who did it. It was, Cracked.
Correct.
Cracked After
Okay.
Hours.
I feel like there'd be a really good after hours episode breaking down why the main character in this game is actually like really bad. And it's like, because it's kind of obvious. I mean, like, I like her well enough, but it's like you're going, I mean, you're going to New York to get a job that you are, that doesn't exist, that you are almost certainly going to fail at, that you don't actually need to go right now for, and instead you are uh, skipping the time that you have, like the last time that you have with your actual friends that might actually be able to get you a job or do something with you in the future. And so there's some stuff that you could probably dig into, especially if you played the game like more than once, and figure out that this girl is maybe doesn't have her priorities in a row. But in the first playthrough, you're not really going to really be thinking about that. Um, I am ready to get to some of the other stuff, the controversial stuff, if you are.
Yeah, not a problem. Before we get to the controversial stuff, though, yeah, I wanted to say that the voice acting I thought was really well done.
Yeah,
I
it's good.
thought the person who played the main character, I thought her look, the voice to the look, and just the overall delivery was pretty spot on. And for most of the characters, I thought they did a really good job on that. And I thought that was it kind of helps sell the whole experience, right? Um, they the vibe that they were going for and everything like that. I felt that they nailed that portion by picking, the right characters for the right delivery. This Ferris Bueller esque thing, and breaking the fourth wall when they did, each and every time. So yeah, I mean, as far as that, I did like those choices. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to the controversy. What is the controversy?
Yeah, so it's kind of sad because I think that this game is not going to be remembered for the pretty good game that it was, and instead going to be remembered for um, sort of some of the things that are going on around it. So basically, um, there's probably more to it than this. But the crux of the controversy is that IGN gave this game a 10 out of 10. Um, and there's no reasonable way for this game to be a 10 by anybody that is a serious reviewer. And and I mean, like, if IGN had given it a 9, I would have been like, okay, that's ridiculous and no, but at least they are acknowledging that it's not perfect, even though that's still very, it's just way out there. And an 8, I can see, I can make a case for an 8 or a 6, myself, but an 8 is more within, definitely within the realm of reason. The problem is that like a 10 is like, I mean, like a 10 is like almost generational. It's a 10 is a, once, probably not even every year, more like every other year, every third year kind of a thing. And to give a game that is 3 hours, 4 hours at pretty much at most, a 10 out of 10 that doesn't really do anything, you know, really that's different. I mean, it does well it does well, but it's taking things that have been done a million times from a million other sources, movies and games, and mixing it together in a nice way. It's not a 10 though. There's just like, I don't know what hour mark a 10 starts at, but I think 8 hours is probably the earliest point that I would reasonably start a 10 out of 10, you know, game review on. And it's this
I
just,
think that's the most arbitrary thing to ever rate a 10 out of 10 rating because of the hour count. I just want to, I'm
no,
really opposed to that.
what I'm saying is that if you have a game that is less than 8 hours, to me, I'm just going to be like, there's just not enough here. Like there's just not enough here. It would have to do something so groundbreakingly insane that to be that short and have that little like quantity to merit a 10. I mean, I just think that it's, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that you it's very hard to get a 10 in the first place. It'd be astronomically difficult to have a low hour count and then do that. So at the very least, I squint my eyes at a 3.5 hour game getting a 10 out of 10. The rest of this game is like, okay, it's good. It's not to that level. So people have pointed out that like that the CEO of Annapurna, which is the publisher for this game, is Megan Ellison, who is related to Larry. I think it's the daughter of Larry Ellison, who operates Oracle, is founder of Oracle. And so people have suggested that IGN is trying to get into Larry Ellison's good graces by proxy of giving this game a 10 out of 10. Annapurna makes a lot of things, makes a lot of games, and they don't all get 10 out of 10. So I don't really see the one-to-one logic in that exactly, but it is a bit striking since this game is not a 10 in any reasonable way, and yet it is receiving that from, like it or not, the biggest game reviewer that we have, single game reviewer that we have. So yeah, so I mean that's sort of the long and short of the controversy as I understand it. There's other stuff that you could probably get into, with like the nostalgia factor. People don't really love that. They don't like that it's that that then this game is just a nostalgia game and then it's getting all these accolades or whatever. So that's sort of the long and short of it. What do you think about all that, Joe?
All right. So for me, let's go back with the point system. A 10 out of 10, it's not a perfect game, but it's more like, like you mentioned, a generational thing. I think it's along the lines of a masterpiece, must play. It's something that redefines a genre, or at least holds the bar, like raises the bar, elevates it, the whatever, type of setting to a whole new level. It's like it's the new benchmark where everything else is aiming after. Um,
Yeah.
like a lot of people in hindsight, IGN gave IGN reviews as a whole uh are okay, but they have a long history of being crap. Like they since the whole Nintendo was it they were the there one of the main editors, if not like the head guy for the Nintendo reviews, was plagiarizing um, streamers and
Hmm.
influencers, like
Oh
verbatim.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that guy was high up too. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know if he was. I thought he was running their Nintendo side, but I could be wrong. But anyway, someone higher up on the review chain, not just a lowly intern.
And
Uh,
not a contractor,
and
like a real employee. Yeah.
and this has happened more than once. Nintendo, like, so despite that Nintendo stuff aside, a lot of their other reviews, and like they gave GTA 4 a 10 out of 10, if I remember correctly. A lot of people in IGN after the fact were like, oh, maybe it didn't deserve a 10. I'm like, I honestly think a 10 was probably warranted at the time because a lot of outfits gave uh, Grand Theft Auto 4 a 10. And I think is because nothing had been done to that scale before. In hindsight, it was like, well, it's just like, yeah, we caught up to that level and surpassed it real quick. But like at that time, it was just such a breadth and scale and things like that. So, in that sense, I think the 10 was warranted. As far as these go, you'd have to be the like fresh I feel like fresh out of school, not knowing, thinking that either your life this is speaks to your life itself, or you really dreamed about having this lifestyle, like to really be like, yes, this game Mixtape is a 10 out of 10. This is like everything that like I yeah, you would
Yeah.
have to equally be as delusional as the main character in a sense.
I mean, if you've
um
never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and if you've never played any other games like this, and you crawled out from under a rock, and you're 13, and this is deep, then yeah, like you would probably be like, this is a 10. I mean, I'm just like, if you're the editor in chief at IGN, and someone is throwing the T word around, uh, like it's like, hey, Rick is over here playing this game and he thinks it's a 10. He's doing his write up right now. He's like writing up a 10. If I'm the editor in chief, I'm going to walk down to that person's office or call them on Zoom or whatever and be like, hey, explain to me why you are about to put this publication's name on the line and call a game a 10, call this game a 10. Like I'm going to stand there with crossed arms and I'm going to say, explain this to me. This is not, I mean, a 9, I might just be like, I'm busy, I'll let it go. But a 10 is like, you're about to make a statement. You're about to make a statement to the whole industry. Like, it's not, I wouldn't take that lightly.
I was just say it'd be like anyone with 4 hours to burn, or even just a half an hour. You play half an hour. That's you're already like a sixth through the game or whatever. So it's like anyone lunch break, play this. Tell me like if you can't put it down, because if it's a true 10, then you have me sold. But like most definitely, coffee intern, go play this game. It's just like,
Get
but
Jimmy in here. What's he doing?
yeah, that's
Tell him to stop making
so.
copies.
I don't believe the conspiracy about trying to get into Annapurna's good graces. I think that's stretching it, considering the fact that Annapurna makes a lot of games,
Yeah.
and so
They don't all get 10s, yeah.
no, I just think it's the wrong reviewer. I think it's a poor job of the review team. I think it's a poor job of all the oversight of management there. And honestly, like I said, I've kind of dipped out of IGN as much as I can long ago. So I didn't read the review. I didn't see who wrote it. I don't know anything about the actual. So I'm far from removed. All I know is they gave it a 10. People are angry. I'm not angry, but I'm like, yeah, you most definitely are wrong. Um, Yeah, and there's very little you can do to convince me otherwise. Like I said, I can stretch it to like this speaks to you. You happen to grow up in the in the 90s, it like in the like the Washington area or some MacGuffin like that, and
Yeah.
all the right nostalgia points. And you were like, yeah, I want to give it an 8. I can you can almost push it to a 9 because just for you, it's a U9. That's okay. But I'm
Yes.
like, there's no way this is a 10. This they stumble in a few spots. The game actually kind of freaked out on me in one moment because in the flower fields or like you're flying like jumping over the fields and at one point I wanted to see if I could turn and I turned and then the camera kind of glitched out like it wouldn't let me turn back and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, did I just get stuck? And then I had to kind of backwards go to the point like in further into the level and then it let me turn around. It was kinda weird because then you,
Okay.
like, went over a log or under a log or something like that. I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Oh, man, I might have broken the game trying to explore this field." I'm like so, anyways, it was yeah. I like I said, I think it's a 7's fair. I think an 8 is warranted in certain circumstances. Like if it might speak more loudly to some people, but as a whole, I think the 3 hours is a really good time frame because it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a good tight little film ish experience, and the 3 hours do go by kind of quickly because
Yeah.
it's such it jumps scenes so often. Like even per bedroom, you click on and you're getting like 3 or 4 scenes per area. I'm like that's
Yeah,
kind of a lot,
like you think you're
you know.
stuck in a scene, but when you start clicking around and like takes you to like their memories and stuff, it's like, oh, okay, so you're kind of getting scenes within scenes, and it does help the pacing because when was in that first bedroom where they're all hanging out, I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of boring. But you start clicking around and you get some more stuff. You're like, okay, they actually found a way to like hide some entertainment in here. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
And some of the writing is, it's pretty funny. I laughed out loud once or twice, and just due to some of the things they said, or the interactions or something. At one point, they go like cha cha cha, like they just all kind of like I'm like,
Chaw,
okay,
chaw.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
like
pretty
I've
good.
done stupid stuff like that with friends, and I'm like, okay, that's relatable. The But what it is if you really want to tank the score, what you do is you do a super cut of the different cutscenes, but instead like you dub over Peter Griffin's voice where remember that time when, and then they enter the cutscene because
Oh
that's exactly what
man.
this is. This is just littered with remember that time when, and then doing a flashback sequence. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That would definitely tank the score quite a bit. Yeah. It's it's definitely worth playing. I think it's a game that is probably going to come up on Game of the Year. But I don't think it's going to make it all that high. If I just had to guess right now, but it's definitely something that's going to be talked about again. And yeah, overall, enjoyed it quite a bit. I found it to be a surprise. I really didn't. I think I saw that there was a lot of people that were playing it. I saw. I, I I check the number of reviews and the star rating that they have on PlayStation, not as like any kind of like real metric, but just like if there's like a bunch of ratings and they're pretty high, I'm like, okay, so a lot of people are playing this. And if it's like over 1,000, then I'm like, okay, quite a few people are actually playing this. And that's what this was right away. And I was like, okay, so maybe people are more into this than I thought there would be. Maybe there's something here. And so I decided to go for it. But yeah, it's definitely a memorable experience, and I think I would definitely be interested to see what these developers are going to do next. I think I hope it. I hope they take their time. If they do something, I hope that they take a couple years and make something pretty good. But I for one would be interested in their next work.
Yeah, I would never go off of PlayStation, scoring unless I'm looking at it, I'm kinda questioning a game, I'm like, "Maybe," and if it has, like, a 3 or 4 star, I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's not an instant 4.5 to 5 star," because I feel like everything is glazed over that way by the fan base. So if it's, like, 4 or less, like, especially if it's less than 4, you're like, ooh, maybe I should look at other places before I because look at other
Yeah.
reviews. Because if it's
That's
a 3-star game,
like
it doesn't matter how many fans, like that's impressively bad for PlayStation
yeah, that's
reviews.
what I use it for is like if I'm scrolling through, oh, what's this game? And I look at it and it's got like 20 ratings and they're like at 2.5, 3.5 stars. I'm like, yeah, no. But if it's like a game that I haven't heard of, I look at it, oh, this looks kind of interesting. Watch some of the gameplay. Doesn't look bad. Okay, it's got like 500 reviews and it's like at 4.5 stars, and it already seems kind of interesting to me, then I'll be like, all right. And I might, and if it's, it's just another factor that I use to go to like filter out a game. If it's like 3 stars and it's not something that I automatically want, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, no, I'm checking out. But yeah,
Yep. All right. But yeah, so that's it for Mixtape. Overall, better than we originally came in expecting. And I think if you want a story based experience, that's kind of fun and novel, then go ahead and give it a shot. But if you want a quote unquote more gamey experience, then this is not for you. That's kind of how I feel.
yeah,
All right. So all right, let's go to kind of what we've been watching slash what we've been doing. So you just recently came up to my neck of the woods to go to ASEN Anime Central, and yeah, why don't you tell us some stuff how you felt about the convention as a whole?
yeah. It was super fun. It was I've only been to one other anime convention, and that was in college, and it was in my college town, and it was a very small, try hard convention, but it was very small and not not a lot in particular going on, especially for the time, and I had no money. So I couldn't really like buy merch or anything like that. That was many years ago. So this is effectively like my first like real anime con that I've gone to, and I really enjoyed it. It was in a great spot over at the convention center they've got there, and they had everything pretty well organized. I mean, a lot of people. Um, Things were set up the way that you want, and and I actually we even got to see a couple things. We all that they use this app called Guidebook. Is that what the app's called?
Yeah.
Where you sign up, you take your tickets, and you sign up through the app, and then you go through and pick stuff out. And we all tried to get tried to get on the list. We tried to register for the meet and greet signing event for the person that does the Ascendance of a Bookworm mangaka. Wait, no. Oh, it was Apothecary Diaries. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It was Apothecary Diaries. It was a mangaka that does that. And we all tried to register, and we were all sitting there for whenever it opened, and only one of us got it, but thankfully one of us got it. Um, and so that was cool. But then there were actually a couple different things that were premiered here, or I guess pre-release were showed in pre-release form, and I'll talk about those here in a second. But yeah, overall, very good. Lots of cosplay, tons and tons and tons of cosplay, and super fun overall. It was great.
Yep. Waiting for next year for you to break out your 2B two color variant outfit. The white outfit, tanned character. So I
I
bet you can do it.
mean, I've
I
already
believe
got
in
the
you.
tan and the black hair. Um, yeah,
We just
yeah,
need to get you that white dress, and you're golden. All
yeah.
right.
Just need to get me the white dress, but it's got to be good enough. So, you're not going to spend the 4 grand to.
That's what the Patreon's going to be for.
Oh no.
That it's okay
Yeah.
so long as it gets to the dress.
No, I'm not doing it.
If the dress
No, I'm already
fits,
gonna go. I'm just gonna say that right now. I don't care how much money we make off of that. I'm just gonna go to McDonald's or something.
you're gonna cosplay at McDonald's. All right, if that's what you want.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, the as far as the event goes, I hadn't been in a very long time since I went overseas, and so it was. It was growing quite a bit, but honestly, it wasn't as crowded as I was expecting. Um, yeah, it was pretty manageable all in all, and we went for like I ended up going for all 3 days. You had to leave on the third day to go back to Texas. So it was a high, a very was a turn and burn weekend for you, So it's like, but we did manage to do a lot. Had a good time. Spent a bit more money than we'd like, but also at the same time, not as much as we probably could have. So easily,
as much as you
uh,
feared.
yeah. So no, it was good though, and I think if we can make plans next year again, that'd be awesome. But yeah, it was honestly one of like I talked to some of the vendors, and uh, some of the reps were like, "Yeah, this convention's way more manageable than a lot of others." Uh,
Really?
other ones are just they might have depends. People ask like what's the better convention? It's like, well, it depends on what you're interested in. It's like and then one guy was based out of California, and he's like, yeah, I would like. He goes, yeah, LA might have the biggest technically, but also it's in LA, so I would rather never have to drive in LA ever.
Oh yeah.
Just like he's like, just screw that. Um, so he's like, it's almost never worth it, but I do it for my job. And he goes,
Yeah.
Houston. He's like, Houston used to have, or Dallas. He goes, Dallas used to have some of the originals, but due to mismanagement or just how things fell by the wayside, some of those ended up just disappearing, full stop.
You mean original
And
cons, like one of the first among the
yeah,
first
yeah,
cons?
like
Wow.
the
Okay.
OG cons, like back in the day, where anime was still probably called Japanimation back then.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
I mean, Dallas would
so
be like in this part of the country. That would be that, and I mean, Houston's been bigger for a while, but Dallas. It does make sense that Dallas would be like the spot for stuff like that to spring up.
yeah, and it was, but at the same time, like we have a good representation here. We have some other anime conventions throughout the year in Chicagoland area, but this is by far uh, the biggest. And once again, it's still you could still maneuver it pretty well. It wasn't overcrowded, even on Saturday. Saturday noticeably busier, but at the same time, not suffocating. So that was the best part about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
and
I mean, I was just gonna
yeah,
say
you
that.
got the
Sorry, I just kind of go off of the point you were talking about, with like like which con's the best and or whatever. I mean, I was thinking about that, and obviously you got to go with what you like, whether what you're into, but the way that this one was run, I could see how things could get messy very quickly if you don't have enough vendors, you don't have the right vendors, you don't have the right rooms, you don't have the right flow of traffic, you don't. I mean, there's a lot of planning and stuff that goes into this, and there's a lot of like events and panels and side stuff that is that would be very tricky to, like, if you're the event planner for this, like I imagine that you have I don't know what part of your year is very busy, but whatever part of that year is busy is got to be really really busy for all the things that you have to coordinate. So I can definitely see how one this big would be hard to coordinate. I could see how other ones that are not as that may be as large or larger or smaller or whatever, but for whatever reason the event planners just aren't as good. It would be very easy to mess that up. So yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's like you don't notice until it's bad, and then you go, oh, this is awful, and when you've been to a lot. And so obviously, like, we didn't notice anything. I don't think, I mean, I did, I don't know if you did, but I didn't notice anything there where I was like, oh, this definitely was a mess up and they need to get this fixed. Everything was the way that I wanted it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue I had was with that original countdown for the author signings, and but that's with every convention, pretty much anywhere. It's pretty bad overall. There has to be a better way. I mean, you're gonna almost have to do um, the lottery system or something like that. Just let people, sign up for the lottery and randomly get selected, because the whole getting to pick whoever clicks first in theory. Uh, I clicked in before all the friends did, but then also my phone's like the app was like, "Hey, do you wanna give us authorization for your stuff?" I'm like, "Of course I do. I downloaded you, you piece of junk." And so I had to hit backspace, re-enter, and then like, "You're on the waiting list." I'm like, "You piece of crap."
Yeah.
So yeah, I was in first and I was not. It's like, all right. So it was disappointing on that front. But at the same time, the guidebook is I have a friend who goes to Gen Con yearly, and they're like, the guidebook is nicer as a whole compared to
That's
the
a
app
nice
they use for
guidebook.
Gen Con. So it was, at least that format is a little bit better, but depending like Gen Con, you sign up. Actually, it's the same weekend as ASIN. So our buddy left like I think on Sunday at like noon. Like, okay, I gotta randomly try to sign in and see where I fall into. And they got it like 13,000 in queue or something like that, while their friend got like 34,000 in queue. So it was insane. They're like, yeah, you can actually walk and have space in here. You could just stand and no one bumps into you. Like Gen Con's like shoulder to shoulder, like almost all the time.
What? Wow, I didn't know Gen Con was that big. That's crazy.
At least that's what they were saying. I mean, I know Gen Con forever ago was actually up in Wisconsin, and then
Yeah.
it got so big. It happened right like I think it happened in like 2000 or something like, or maybe just before. And then that's when they moved over. But yeah, that's always the problem is when the convention outgrows the center, and it depends on how much they're locked in. But also, it's such a huge pain to find new locations. So, anyways, I recommend if you're in the area, ASN is a safe and like as far as simple and not crazy madhouse like to go ahead. It might be overwhelming for first timers, but honestly, as a whole, not so bad. A lot of and also it was nice to see a lot of parents like supporting their kids, like
Yeah.
middle school, high school kids, as like they wanted to go. You can tell the parents have zero interest in it, but they're there to help, to chaperone. But like, I'm like, good for you. That's awesome. And yeah, so but as you mentioned, there was a couple of debuts. You saw one of the probably the big highlight of the reveal for the show. So I'll let you go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, so this was a anime called Goodbye Lara. Um and yeah, so this was Friday night that they premiered this. Um they first that they said in their little talk, they said that they had first shown snippets of it 2 years ago at ASIN, but they had a that but this anime is going out in July of this year, and so they wanted to show everybody the first episode, and I was like, okay, cool. So I was sitting in there, and this anime is about it's basically the Little Mermaid, but anime and what happens next, um, like after like the events of the their version of the Little Mermaid, and so this first episode was very highlighty. It felt like an OVA, honestly, where everything was just sort of like bang, 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 bang. But it was to get to like the main point of it, which is basically the Little Mermaid, but instead of the 1700s, which is where they decided to originate the story, um, she has been in a cursed sleep or something for several hundred years, and she pops out in 1980s Japan. Um, and yeah, so it had like it's pretty rare that I get to watch an episode of anime with about 500 other people. in the same room. So there were some things about it that was pleasantly surprised by. Everybody was very quiet, respectful, and all that stuff. But there were a couple funny points in the anime, or surprise points, or action points, and people's reactions to them. It was pretty great to kind of be in the crowd for that. There was especially some funny stuff that people that very that they really liked a lot. Um, and the end scene of this first episode was pretty pretty fantastic. I I don't think that I want to spoil it, but just whenever it does come out, Joe, I think that you'll enjoy the end scene of this anime. But yeah, it I was afraid it was gonna suck. I was like, gosh, it's gonna be so awkward if I'm sitting in this room with all these people and this anime just freaking blows. Um, so I was a little bit apprehensive and very relieved when about 2 or 3 minutes into the anime, I was like, okay, this is not going to be bad. At least it's not going to be horrible. And but then there, I found myself being like, okay, this is actually pretty good. And as I thought that, I was like, do I really think it's good, or do I just want to think it's good because like I'm seeing something early or whatever? But I mean, in hindsight, I did think it was pretty good. I'm actually looking forward to watching it when it comes out, in full in July. But yeah, it was good, and I've not been able to be part of a pre-release sort of, in the pre-release scene for very many things in my life. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a fun experience.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you getting caught up in the zeitgeist. Next thing you know, like, where's Nick getting a tattoo? Tattoos were readily available. It's like, I don't know, he saw this new anime about a mermaid. He really wanted a mermaid tattoo all of a sudden, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Lara. You mean like Lara Croft? No, this mermaid Lara. I don't know why they decided to name her Lara, but maybe it's easy or something. But yeah, I mean, not a bad character. We'll see how it goes. I'm not expecting the world out of this anime, but there's actually the most interesting character to me is one of the side characters that you don't really get to see very much of in the first episode, but they show some other things, and they show some of the other characters that they're going to introduce, and they look pretty cool. It looks like I'm like, okay, this might be pretty decent, but yeah.
yeah, waiting for the Yakuza, Kiryu crossover, right? Is that in the 80s?
I mean, that would
Uh,
be fun. To be fun and funny. Yeah.
all right. Yeah. So, the pre-release thing that I saw was, you ended up, we were watching. We went to one of the panels. They talked about Gunpla. It was pretty good. And then afterwards, you went off to see this other Disney pre-release thing, and you sent us a message because it was just like right around the corner, and we didn't realize. We're like, oh, okay, it's right here. Sure, free merch. Why not? So I'm always down for a simple swag. But it was for Dragon Strikers, and yeah, no idea anything about this. So it's funny because that room was a big room. It was like not even a quarter capacity filled, I feel like. So I
Well,
kind of felt bad for them.
yeah, it was a big room. I will contrast, so the Goodbye Laura was in a room that was bigger than that, and they actually had two screens, so one for each side. So I was able to sit a little bit closer. They turned the lights completely off, so you have the projectors that are working with a completely dark room for Goodbye Laura. So it's very clear. Really, it was really nice viewing experience, to be honest. For Dragon Striker, they didn't turn the lights all the way off. They only turned about half off. So it was kind of competing with a little too much light, and they only had the one screen, and it was, and so so where we were sitting, we were actually a little further away from where I was with Goodbye Laura, but it was and it was like Saturday afternoon that they were premiering it, so not quite as much pomp and circumstance as like something like on a Friday night or like a Saturday night. But so a little bit different thing, but yeah, I'll let you talk about it some more.
Yeah, so Dragon Strikers is a it's going to be a new show on Disney, and the essentially it's a fantasy setting, so a world of like dragons and magic and stuff like that. Uh, but they're playing soccer.
Yes.
So that's the basic, yeah. And then if you had to break down the art style, it's that it's the Western anime look, so something akin to like Avatar: The Last Airbender or Voltron, like the She-Ra or something like that. It's kind of something akin to that. So it's solid quality animation. It's just it's not anime per anime sake, but it's very much a decent style, and they also made it easier. So instead of being an 11 man, 11 on 11, it's just a 5-man teams, if I remember correctly. I
Yeah.
think it's 5 plus goalie. I couldn't have it's hard for me to remember right now. But
Yeah.
the yeah, it's just you have your main character who is a little dirtbag, but essentially he's a complete narcissist. It's all about him. But you have to have some sort of driving force to make the plot happen. So yeah, it's kind of you can kind of ignore him and then just uh take in the rest of the setting. And as far as the world they build, the look of it, the feel, the other side characters, um, that all seems to be pretty solid. The kind of rough story is um main character, like there was an incident where uh something happened where a person sacrifices themselves by using some ability to stop some some sort of rampage, I guess. We don't know if it's necessarily a monster or someone going out of control. They don't really quite explain a whole lot of that. Then you kind of figure out that it's like, oh, it's the main character's mom. And so the main character's mom used to be a soccer player and our dragon striker. And so this person's obviously now you went from uh like most of these anime stories, like, yeah, person of no talent, but they have it in their blood. So therefore, uh, it's like doesn't matter how hard you try, it just matters of your lineage.
Yeah.
So
The genetics are everything. Yeah, it's a little bit it's like chosen one kind of, schlock, the farmer Luke Skywalker, rags to riches kind of thing. The main character, I'm sure, will be like a lot of other main characters. Some of the other side characters were pretty good in this. Um, the poor girl that is going to get CTE from getting hit in the head with a soccer
oh
ball.
yeah,
That
sees
was
the goal. So many hits to the face. Yeah, countless.
yeah. I mean, as much as I make fun of that, it actually was probably the funniest. Like actually, legitimately, people laughing. The funniest part of the show. That I did think that the that's that the animation is pretty good, but a lot of the backgrounds, a lot of the environments and stuff were really well detailed. In in a lot of American animation, you don't really see that. In a lot of Japanese animation, you don't always see that. Sometimes you do. But the way that they did it was very. They just it was a little bit different than what I'm used to seeing, and I just kind of noticed that. Um, Pretty saturated colors. Um, it feels kind of video gamey in some ways. I don't really know how else to describe it besides that. But and it and they're aiming for a demographic that's younger than the typical anime audience. I felt like they were aiming for you know not really like 12 plus, but like literally like age 10, maybe even younger. That's sort of their target audience. So not really for us, per se, but still pretty well made overall, I thought.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the age demographic because it's most definitely meant for the younger audience. By making it a smaller team, like 5 on 5 or whatever, it makes it a little bit easier to remember your characters. Makes them be able the side characters stand out more because when you have a full roster,
11
you
dudes.
they
Yeah.
yeah,
Plus
you end
subs.
up just you end up start forgetting who they are, in like really quickly. Though this is all about this is soccer with magic powers essentially.
Yeah.
The one guy clearly using handball, but because it wasn't his physical hand, it was his magic hand. I'm like that's still card that piece of
I'm
crap
gonna
right
blow the
there.
whistle on that.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just yeah, and then it's funny because I'm like maybe I should say this out loud now just to give just because the director was there, the director and one of the other key developers. I'm like maybe I should like do the one heckle because like, there was maybe one or two people like oh dude you guys are clearly ringers because you happen to start clapping before everyone else, and every now and then you'd hear a hoop or a holler from the same people, and
Oh, I didn't notice
I'm like,
that.
you totally are. You're meant to be there as a ringer, and like that's especially with a crowd that empty. Because like I said, it was a big area. It was an okay turnout. But at the same time, I was just like, no. But overall, I think, for example, my kids would end up liking it. I think this is going to be a solid show overall. Whether or not it gets the ratings it needs for Disney, that's a different story. Uh, but it's more manageable, than, like, Captain Tsubasa or, which is the old anime, classic, or, more of, like, our generation, I guess it would be the Inazuma 11, which originally was like, "Oh, yeah, just normal kids playing soccer." At least that's how I remember it being. I never really got into it, but then I remember catching it on TV, like, forever later when I was last time we were in Japan. I'm like, "Oh, wait, there's aliens and stuff involved now?" I'm like, "Where did this series go? I have no idea." So I was like, "This is kinda wild. I'm kinda curious about this, but I'm not gonna spend the time investment into it." Um, so, yes, this is much more approachable. This is gonna be on Disney. This is gonna be the quality is if they keep up the quality, yay. And, yeah, it's meant to be for kids, but they really nailed the vibe, and I kinda like said, I like the way the concept of the world building themselves, and the
Right.
director did kinda mention him being, like, DM, like,
Yeah.
uh, I'm like, "Okay, so he comes from he knows the fantasy concept, being Dungeons& and Dragons and stuff like that, like, if he likes so he likes the idea of the world building." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." So I am hopeful for it, and in fact, I believe that's supposed to be coming out, relatively soon. It's, like, next month, actually, like, think it's, like, the 9th or something like that, June
Yeah. I
9th.
feel like June
Um,
9
it
on
was weird
like
because they had 2 different dates. It's supposed to be showing premiering on Disney and then
it was
switching
like
over to Hulu the very next
Disney.
day or
I think they
something
called it
like
like
that.
XD, and then Disney Hulu was like next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but it was fun to watch, early on. They had really quality bags too that they gave out for free.
Yes.
Like Bethesda can learn a thing or two from these bags.
Yeah, these were actually
Um,
canvas. They were not nylon. They're not like nice canvas, but they're definitely canvas
they're
enough.
way more durable than they had any right to be. That's
Uh,
that's for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, anyways, that's like the listening to the director, having him listening to him talk and stuff. That was pretty good though. And yeah, that was the only premiere I ended up seeing while I was there. But we did get to see some really fun panels here and there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I it's a good spot to
It-
buy some quality merch,
yeah,
which you
definitely.
most definitely did.
Yeah, bro. The merch is serious. I mean, the like you got to remember too that the con prices are different. They are even like hot. They're higher than like Etsy or like what you would get in the store or whatever. But that's kind of part of it. You're gonna remember you're gonna remember that stuff. You're gonna hold that stuff with more dear in your heart, or at least that's what tell myself when I spend 20% more than I should be. But yeah, so there's a lot of things there's a lot of notes that I took after I got back home. When I was like, okay, next time I want to do this a little bit differently. I want to do this a little bit differently, and we've got some things that we want to do to run it back next time. But what the one thing I probably want to do is probably make a more serious pass on the merch sections that first day because I started buying stuff kind of midday toward the end of the day on day two, and a lot of the stuff that I had looked at and was like, I kind of want that, but I don't want to like blow my load too early, so I don't want to buy it just yet. I'm gonna look around a bit, and by the time I got back to it, it was like already gone. So probably want to do a little bit more front loading of some of those things that I like really want on the first day. But I've got a whole list of things, and it's gonna be fun to plan the next one.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's most the thing is certain things you actually can kind of get a good deal on, depending on what you're looking at. Music, I actually found a couple albums that I did not end up purchasing because I just didn't have the money to purchase them. Uh,
But you
but it
wanted
was
to.
yeah, and it was a better deal than
Oh,
I could
really?
find online, actually. It
Okay.
was like the Chrono Trigger vinyl set, and I'm like, I think it was like, 150 or 160 or something like that, and it was cheaper than most places online,
Yeah.
and it looked like a really good quality and stuff like, like, it wasn't damaged or nothing. Uh, they had,
The I was gonna say
yeah?
the laser disc sets were sick. I mean, looking at those, like I don't have a laser disc. I don't even know what I would do to play it, but like just displaying those cases that the packages that it comes in that with for the album art alone is just freaking awesome.
So there was a book off near one of the Eon malls, in like Kanagawa or something like that. So we had to take like an hour long bus ride to get there, and then from there you still had to walk outside the mall, like down the road for like 10-15 minutes. Um, and they had the entire like Tenchi Muyo Laserdisc set when we were there in Japan, and I'm like, that's awesome, but we're also looking at like a dozen plus things, and we're like we were gonna have to carry all that back. Then I'm gonna have to ship everything back. I'm like, nah, I just can't justify that. They're like, just the bringing it back home alone is gonna be a nightmare just to our apartment in Japan. And then from there, getting it back to America, I'm like, oh, dude, but it looks so good. But no, not happening. It's just one of those like I still wish we did, but they're also at the same time I don't regret not doing it at all because it's like, no, we made the right decision. We were gonna pay so much more to ship that box back. But no, there's a lot of cool, neat things. We found old movie posters that we really appreciated, and uh,
Dude, yeah, there's some like there's some that I still am like whenever we were looking at them the first day, I was like, oh, those are so awesome. And then we went, home and stuff, and I was thinking about him that night. And I was like, I'm gonna go back and buy that. And but I remembered it being like $100, and when I got back and looked at it again, it was $200. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing 200. But like in hindsight, I don't know if I see those again next year, I might, I might go for it because some of those they're like gigantic old from the 80s, like original like anime movie posters, and just incredibly hard to find and just really just awesome looking. So yeah.
yeah, you almost have to start putting money aside, like, early on if you know you're going to a convention. That's my pro tip is just, start stashing, like, whatever you can, like 20, $50 a paycheck, depending, a year out, then slowly build up that nest egg and hopefully your car don't break down to use that, that convention money.
Yeah.
Um, be like the
Oh,
version,
fun.
it'd be like a different version of the movie Up, they keep on breaking their travel funds. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's you can easily spend way too much money on a single figure, right, Nick?
Or yeah, you can.
Or someone else buy someone else a figure for way
Yeah,
too much money.
I actually I went to buy a figure that I kind of liked, and I was like, but I wanted to look around. This is like one of the parts where like I wanted to look around, and came back to it, and I was like, oh, dang, it's not there anymore. Like, surely somebody didn't buy it. And I asked, and they were like, yeah, somebody bought that one, and I was like, dang it. But I mean that, and there were three separate occasions at three separate vendors where I bought literally the last one that they had. And so yeah, that's this just goes to show you gotta strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, some of those were like pins and prints, and like you even got the last ASIN like jacket, you
Yeah, I
know.
had to get a small, which it's a pretty big small, but it's not ideal. I'll wear it and enjoy it, but I'm gonna make a move on the ASIN merch, the official ASIN merch, a little bit earlier next time for sure.
Yeah, because I thought maybe they'd get restocked and like had some warehouse stuff, and then the last day they still didn't have them. I'm like, oh wow, they legitimately sold out real quick.
Yeah.
So all right, well, that's it for the ASIN talk and some of the premieres that we got to see. All right, so Nick, you always pick out the news, so why don't you let us know what you got?
Yeah. So we can blow through some of this new stuff. Nothing too earth shaking, at least not in my opinion. First up, Bungie is ending Destiny 2. The last update is going to be in June. I think everybody could kind of see this coming because of the stuff with like Marathon. That's clearly like their next game and stuff like that. Bloomberg is reporting. Um, I don't know how seriously they're reporting this, but they are basically saying that there is not going to be a Destiny 3, which I don't, which I guess people were maybe hopeful for, but I didn't really think that was really on the table at all. But there's not going to be a Destiny 3, and that there will be significant layoffs at Bungie soon. So these are both, all three of these points are kind of like, yeah, I figured that was kind of going to be happening. Like Marathon clearly is not doing as well as they needed it to do. Very expensive game to make, and it's just not really making its money back. And so it makes sense that they would probably legitimately have to do some layoffs or some refiguring. But it's I mean it's bad for Bungie. You know, I hate that, but like Sony paid a big pretty penny for this company, and they're not getting a good return on it right now. So I mean Sony's not usually one to just give up the ghost really quickly and easily, but I just don't know what they're going to do in the long run with Bungie. It's definitely looks like it definitely doesn't look good right now.
Yeah, I mean, once again, no word of Destiny 3. Not a big surprise there.
Yeah.
Everything, all the eggs in one basket, Marathon. And Sony's been doing that lately with uh, a few of the other things, Concord and stuff like that. So hopefully, hopefully they repurpose Bungie into something profitable and something competent. It's just using their resources like they are now. I don't trust Sony, and I'm just hoping someone in Bungie gives pitches a new thing to them and they allow them to run with it. But we'll see. Maybe they already burned up their goodwill with the acquisition of Marathon, the reworking of Marathon. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Here's to hoping. Um, the next thing is also kind of PlayStation related. So PlayStation, they trademark the name Break In for a new unknown game. This was found by somebody on Resetera or Reset Era. I never know the proper way to actually pronounce that. Um, but basically, some people think that it's a rebrand for the Fair Games live service game that was going to be made, or that was being made by Havoc Studios. That kind of remains to be seen, but I just thought I'd mention that here in case it comes up in the future. We can point back to this podcast as having talked about it. But yeah, I don't know what it would be. I don't even know what Fair Games was exactly or is. But I think it stands to reason that it might be a rebrand for it. But it'd be cool if it was like a brand new game and it was something fun.
yeah. I'm not really. I don't know. Fingers crossed, man. Live service is a rough spot to be in this last, I don't know, couple years.
I
So
mean, yeah, like, gosh, I mean, live service games are not going away. There's always going to be like a new one, a new hot one that's going to come out every year or so. Um, and I don't, I mean, Sony just doesn't really seem to, like, they want to do that. They want to be good at it, but they're really not. They're really good at making, big tentpole single player amazing experiences, they just haven't really cracked the live service situation, and I know they want to, and I think they could probably make a pretty good one, but yeah, I just don't. think that they're going to stop until they actually get some kind of money printer.
Yeah. All right. What else you got for us, man?
All right, last thing. It's a little bit more news on the New York Attorney General suing Valve for their loot boxes essentially. And I read a little bit about this. Basically, Valve is kind of responding to some of the lawsuit stuff in some kind of a release, and basically saying, people like surprise mechanics, or surprise. They like surprises in games or whatever. I forget exactly the wording that they used. And they're basically arguing that loot boxes are, and their version of it, of those surprise mechanics, are that's basically the same as magic cards or Pokemon cards, and that and that and that like it would be wrong for the state of New York to rule against Valve in this situation, because then they would basically need to go back and rule against those other things, or it would call all that into question. And I was thinking about it, and I was kind of like, well, they have a decent point, and I haven't been able to figure out whether or not I think they're necessarily wrong about that. But my gut feeling is like loot boxes in a video game are not really quite the same as magic cards that you buy, that you can buy like Target. And I don't really know why I think that yet, but that's like the position I'm operating from, and I'm just still trying to digest, because I just read this afternoon, so still thinking about it. But I was wondering what if you had any thoughts on that.
Yes, they're both criminal and they should be wiped from the face of the earth.
See,
No,
that's what I was afraid you said. You're kind of
I
kind of
mean,
right, yeah.
make them 18, make them 18 only. Don't let minors have it. And then all of a sudden you drop the market out from the bottom of it, because that's where most of the impulse buys are from. Or if you make it like a pack of cigarettes or something like that, where you have to have ID, less likely to it'd be harder for the second-hand market and everything else like that. Start listing your odds per card. What are your odds of getting uh, shinies? What are your odds of getting these specific cards? Because uh, one of like the most expensive Magic card, we had this discussion when you were here.
Mm.
Like our friend was explaining to us, like, yeah, so Black Lotus not being the most expensive Magic card because they came out with a limited run where they specifically created a shortage of a certain card to generate that
I,
falsehood. And like,
I think they were saying that it was the One Ring, like the Lord of the Rings thing, and they literally only made one card, not
that
like,
was the Post Malone bot. That was the thing. Yeah, it was
yeah.
one special. It was especially. It was the way that it was done was
Oh, okay, maybe that
more
was it.
special,
Okay.
and it's like intentionally printing a misprint of a card, right? Like I'm gonna specifically write the text backwards or have a reversed letter in the corner, and then that's do that for like 10 cards, and boom, like oops,
The
it was a printing
misprint.
error. Who would
Yeah.
have thought? Yeah, so that it becomes the most expensive things. The I think that I understand why people argue like, oh, trading cards or all those like it's a physical thing you can have enhanced, therefore it has that value. I'm like, yeah, but in a world where digital is just as important now, because when you're going from your physical media library, DVDs, movies, games, to a all digital one, and the convenience of that, I think that that is just as important as the physical library. Uh, but the ability to access it should still be there. That's the importance. Like, hey, if all my stuff on Amazon, if I'm buying a bunch of movies digitally on Amazon, and Amazon so wishes to, they can flip a switch and then block my account, and now I don't have access to that.
Yeah.
Now I see the argument, and that's the argument for physical. I'm like, that's great. But at the same time, maybe I don't want to have bookshelves of DVDs anymore because I'm tired of moving that stuff, and I'm tired of like trying to find new homes for those shelves specifically for that. It's just like, or having you know, manga that's just like once again, rows and rows of manga at an expensive rate, and it's just like, no, maybe you want to slim it down, keep it minimalist. I still like a good book, but at the same time, the convenience of digital is there. And so it's like if I want to be able to read a book on my phone or on a tablet or whatever equivalent, that's fine. And it's nice because I can throw it in a backpack in a slim pocket, not worried about getting tore up, bent up and all that stuff during my travels.
Rained
Um,
on. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I think in that aspect, the digital version, it has more value than the physical version. The physical version is more of a library piece. I
Well,
like
yeah. I
it.
mean,
I like it to stare at it and be like, "Oh, isn't that nice to have?" You're like,
the
"No, no, no, don't
physical
touch. No one touches it. Look, just look, don't touch."
look
You know?
don't yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like Cameron's the parents' house, in Ferris Bueller, where everything's like a museum. So yeah, like it's becoming that physical media, physical things are the luxury, and digital is what you just use to get by. Like if you're buying, like if I'm gonna buy a manga, it's gonna be like the whole set, and it's gonna be something that I really love because I've already read it, digitally, or I read it a long time ago when I was like a kid or whatever. It's because I want to like display it. But everything, everything that is digital is like I'm watching all of my TV shows and my movies and stuff just digitally as they are appear on Netflix or whatever, streaming service, and then they move on, and I'm like, okay, I don't care. But if I really find something, oh, I really love this, I'm gonna go buy the Blu-ray. I'm gonna get it signed. I'm gonna buy the signed edition, signed Super Hollow Gold edition or whatever. Yeah. So I mean, that's sort of that whole world is becoming where physical space is just such a um, is becoming such a rarity that only the things that you really care about are going to be able to take up the physical space. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, where to really draw the line with Valve. I think that's probably a pretty good thing to make it like, okay, you can't buy any of this stuff unless you're 18. Um, it's I don't know. Like I feel like there probably is some kind of a difference between like Magic cards in a store or Pokemon cards in a store, but there's not that big of a difference because it is a gamble. It is a like a technically, um you don't know if you're gonna get basically nothing or basically kind of a little bit of something or something like a mega amazing. um I'd like to hear the some more of the New York AG's arguments against it, because their initial argument had it as one thing, but I feel like it was kind of, I don't know, honestly, I feel like it was kind of vague. But then again, maybe I would read it with more detailed intent, if I were to see it again. So yeah, it's just a story that I wanted to continue to pay attention to, because I think that if Valve, whether Valve wins or loses, I think it's going to be a pretty big deal in the long run.
I think that it's fair to go after Valve, and I also think it's equally fair to go for New York than to have to go after uh Flair and like Wizards of the Coast and all the other
Yeah.
like companies that make TCGs or just card collecting in general, because that's exactly what it is. It's predatorial, it is a gamble, and it's it's a gateway for the entry level for little kids to start it. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a there's no reason for that.
Yeah.
Especially when your goal is to like, hey, if you're gonna make my card games again, not just a collecting thing. It's just like that's exactly. It's just like, hey, I want that. There was a different term, and I can no longer remember. But instead of the TCGs, it's is it CCGs? But it's the
Yeah.
games like Android Netrunner. It's like you knew what you were going to get in each box set. Granted, you can, if you wanted a specific card, they would screw you over their own special way by saying, "Hey, this pack only comes with one of these really good cards. So you're either gonna have to buy those cards separately, or you're gonna have to buy that whole pack 3 times." So, but they at least wear it on their sleeve, like, this is how we're screwing you. This is but you know exactly what you're getting, and if everyone buys a fresh deck or a fresh pack, like, then you guys can play on equal terms, and because it's all about the game more than it is about the rarity of the cards.
Yeah.
So, then when you wanna pay to win, once again, you buy those cards individually. There you go.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's what I mean.
so, alright.
That's the cheapest way to do it.
Well, the other thing is that means the individual card doesn't get any more expensive than the pack, because if once it gets to a certain point, you're like, "Well, I'll just buy the whole new pack and just have a bunch of extra cards to burn," literally. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
For warmth,
so
because you're not going to be able to afford your
yeah,
heating bill
I
anymore.
I can do anything else with that. So I can't. You're not going to spend any more than whatever it might be, like $20 at most for like another starter booster, set, an actual big pack. But the smaller ones will cost less, and it really helped level the playing field. And that card game was amazing for what it lived. Granted, it did eventually die, but that's fine. It runs its course. That's okay to do. Play a
Yeah.
new game, make a new game. Uh, the things that Pokemon and like Wizards of the Coast do and stuff like that, where we're making these limited things specifically just to screw people over. Um,
Yeah.
they're cool, cool little mashups, cool little events. It's like collaborations. That's great. I love it. But at the same time, I also would love it if you actually did like appropriate quantities and it wasn't going straight to the scalper market. But that's exactly what they're selling. They're planning on selling it to that. It's just like, all right, it's just as bad as the console manufacturers being like, hey, we're gonna, or like any manufacturer, like graphics cards are the same way. We're gonna do this paper launch, and everyone else is gonna go ahead and scalp these, and we're uh we're gonna up our own prices because we know we can, and it's abusing the user base. So that's why I'm not a fan of card collecting in general. Uh, and if you're gonna play a card game, then by all means play your card game, have fun with your card game. But if you're buying it to collect, you, I'm just not for that. Nope.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's pretty hard to differentiate it from actual gambling and stuff. So yeah, it's but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
all right. Well, on that note, if you made it this far, we appreciate it. We're back to our regularly, scheduled podcasting. This has been another Depixel, episode 176. Nick, what are some words you have for the people out there today?
Um, Whenever you buy a pack of cards, it doesn't hurt to say a quick prayer before you open it.
Yeah. Um, don't necessarily. I remember the old wives' tale back in like the playground where like you have to open up a brand new pack and get the bottom right pack. That's the good one. That's a lie. You
Doesn't
get screwed no matter what pack you grab. Um,
that's probably the
rub your
truest thing.
rub your lucky Buddha, rabbit's foot. Do whatever you can, but yeah, say your prayer, make your blood oath, and then maybe you'll get lucky.
Maybe you'll get
But all
lucky.
right, guys, until next time. Yeah, maybe. This has been ADP. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.